Well, welcome everybody to yet another Monday Masterclass. Scott and I have been particularly looking forward to this one because we get to kind of present to you the new certification program we have in place. Along with that, there's a whole new homepage on the Blueprinting Center. So we just got a lot of stuff to cover with you here today. So I think, Scott, I'll dive in, and as I miss things or don't catch things, why don't you go ahead, just jump right in. But also for anybody else, if you've got questions, if your dog has a question, just kidding. No, if there's any questions at all, just unmute yourself, and we'll make this real informal as we go. Does that sound like a plan?
Perfect.
All right. So the first thing, so we've got a new certification program. If you want to get a really quick, nice, crisp overview of it, just go out to our main website, theaiminstitute.com, go out to training, and then when you get to training, go to blueprinting, because this is all about blueprinting, and there you go, certification programs. Just go to that. And I'll even use this to kind of give you a high-level view of this, and then we'll dive deeper into the certification. So here's the way the certification works. We've got two levels. One level is what we are now calling the practitioner certification. And then once you reach that, you go for, if you want to, the blue belt certification. Now, some of you may say, well, wait a minute, didn't we have blue belt before? Well, we did. Yep, but now we've got a certified blue belt. So if you went to one of our workshops years ago and you got your blue belt, we're not taking that blue belt away. You still got it. But we are kind of upping the game a little bit here with a certified blue belt, and we'll show you the differences. For many of you on the call here, you're going to find that you are well on your way to both of these certifications just because of the natural work you've been doing and what you've been learning. So let me zoom this in a little bit more so you can read a little bit better. So what do you do to get to your practitioner certification? Well, the first thing is participate in 3 discovery and 2 preference interviews. And you don't have to be a note taker or a moderator, just be one of the 3, note taker, moderator, or observer, as long as you're present and accounted for. And I'll show you where you have to log that in the software. It'll follow you, okay? Then the second thing is complete a project market case. Now, this means that you're simply on a team on a blueprinting project that finished up discovery and preference and completed a market case. Well, what if the market case was, we're going to kill this project? That's okay. You complete the market case. It doesn't have to be one that gets approved to go forward. The third thing is do some of the e-learning. Now, modules 13 through 24 are the real hands-on ones about setting up interviews with customers and doing discovery and preference. There's actually 31 e-learning modules, but you just have to do some of those. And then there's some practitioner certification exams, which I'll show you. So let's imagine you've done that, like, woo, I got my practitioner certification. There's a badge I think they can download at that point, correct, Scott?
That's right.
So you download the badge, you got that, you can put it on LinkedIn, your profile, your resume, whatever, put it in your CV, say you are a certified practitioner. Now you say, well, I want to go for blue belt certification. Well, all you got to do for this, a little bit more work, now you have to be either the moderator or the note taker in 5 discovery and 3 preference interviews. And again, many of you have already done this. And then you need to finish out those e-learning modules. And then there's 7 new blue belt certification exams, a little bit more difficult, not terribly hard. So that's basically it for this certification. There's a little bit more in here. One thing I should tell you is don't be nervous about those exams. Every single exam question is in our Blue Help Knowledge Center. And I'll refresh you on that in a little bit too. And so there's a number of things. You get this digital badge when you get to these certification levels. What if you move to a new company and you're only partway through, you have to start over again? Nope, not at all. We've got your records. Obviously, we won't be taking your last company's interviews and moving into a new company. That's pretty top secret. but we will keep track of how many interviews you've done and that sort of thing. Just pick up where you left off. So it's kind of like, we like to think of it as like special forces for innovation. You know, when people got their master black belt in Six Sigma, that was a pretty big deal, or in Lean. Well, this is more about innovation, a way to show you've mastered this. And so this is all going to be tracked. We'll have the records for this. Also, your executives can watch. There's an executive dashboard that they'll be able to look at, excuse me, and they'll be able to see the progress. If you guys want, I can show you what this looks like a little later as well, okay? And if your executives are set up to watch, you know, progress of teams and everything, they can even see how many interviews everybody has done, discovery, preference, whether they were moderator, note taker, observer, and so forth. And then lastly, we think this is really going to help everybody's company. Now, you may remember that we have a new training model. Let me just show it to you real quickly here. And then I'm going to take a breath and see if you got any questions. The new training model looks like this. And what's happening now is a lot of people are doing this team plan. So what they do is they send a team of, let's say, 4 or 5 people. They pay for the software for the first year and Blueprinting Center access for life. After that, it's like $30 a month for the software. But then they pay for an AIM coach to help them with their very first project. So if they're doing this, they got 4 team members, they got 1 coach, they can download a statement of work and so forth, and they're off to the races. After that, of course, they just keep the $30 a month going and they do as many projects as they want. But here's the point I would like to make. If you've got some certified blue belts in your company and you want them to replace the AIM coach so you don't pay that anymore, we're delighted to do that. We can then go from practitioner certification to blue belt to then being a certified coach where you can replace the AIM coaches. So let me take a breath. Any questions on the 2 levels of certification, practitioner, and then the blue belt certification, or even the coach, or how this works? And then I'm going to go into a little bit more nitty gritty on this, but let me stop first and see if there's any high level questions. And Scott, if I missed anything, let me holler at this point too. We're going to go to the home page next. Everybody so far, so good? All right, then. Now let's go ahead and let me get out of here and let's go over to the Blueprinting Center. So the goals for the practitioner certification are in the upper right. But just real quickly, because some of you might not have seen this new homepage, it still has the things we had before: e-learning, Blue Tools, Blue Help. This is how you get to your software at the top. But what's nice now is there's some shortcuts. If you want to start a new project, you can do here instead of going here. You can open up all your projects or just click on the recent ones. You can also see which projects you are a member of. Are they red, market research phase, orange, discovery phase, green, preference phase? The circles or the little dots are completed interviews. The diamonds are scheduled. And the hollow blue circle is your market case goal. And then if we go down here a little further, this shows your interviews. Every time I do another public workshop, I'm the moderator. So I guess that's why I have so many interviews here. But it shows, you know, what type of role you have: moderator or observer or note taker. And then also the same thing for preference. And notice there's a check mark because we completed some requirements here. Your important dates are here. And then notice down below, it's showing you which modules you've completed. And again, for practitioner, you just have to do 13 through 24. And then down below here, I'll show you this in a minute. These are where you take your exams. And then the rest of this is who in your company has reached what certification and who's a subscriber, some new information coming up. But now let's focus back here again on the goals. So the first thing is you complete your profile. That's pretty easy. You just come up here and I think you put in your name and email address and a couple small things there. So that one's not too tough. I was able to handle that one. Then you complete a project market case, and you participate in 3 discovery and 2 preference interviews. Well, how's this work? Do we have to report when we do this? Well, no, actually, this is all linked to your Blueprinter software. Now, remember, Scott and me and anybody at AIM, we cannot get in and see your interviews. We can't see the names of the people you interviewed. None of that stuff is available to us. But we can see some kind of macro high level data, like what stage your project is at and who did what on interviews, moderator, note taker, and observer. So here's what you want to do. To make sure you get credit, let's go into Blueprinter. And let's go into our friend, the demo, Acme Packaging. And you want to make sure that you get credit for the team completing a market case. So just come up here and just make sure that you are on the team. Make sure, now this is a demo, but make sure it sees your, let's add somebody in here. Make sure it sees your email address so it knows you are part of the team. If you want to double check it, come over here. Let me get out of this. Come over here, go to your create market case. And then as you go through these, there's stuff you fill in. Just make sure your name is there. Oh, good, my name is there. That's good. And we're going to keep filling in these areas. We're building out our market case. And when we get to the last one, it says, are you really, really sure this is going to finalize the market case? Yep, we are done. Boom. At that point, the software knows that you were on a team that finished a market case. And so it sends that data over to your home page and it sends it to your executive's dashboard. So everybody knows you have now finished a market case. So let me stop on that one. Any questions on the market case requirement? Okay, now what about discovery interviews? How's it know? Well, you probably already had me here. It's the prep sheet, right? So when you go in the prep sheet, just make sure you are listed as a moderator, note taker, or observer. And that's how it keeps track. And then if you are listed as one of those, and this becomes a finished interview, then you're all set. By the way, we've got a new upgrade coming. Sometimes people forget to mark this finished. We've got a new thing where 3 sticky notes get filled in automatically. It says, hey, these guys did a discovery interview. So it'll record it. So that's how you get credit for those 2 elements. Let me go back here again. So you just got to be on a project that finishes a market case, and you got to be in here and do some interviews. And then this one's pretty simple, completing the e-learning, and that shows up down below. Of course, you take your e-learning here, and if I've already completed it, it says I'm passed, I can review it. If I didn't quite finish one, I hit the continue button and finish it. And then if I haven't even started it, I get started here. And remember, you have to answer those questions at the end. There's usually like 2 or 3 fairly simple quiz questions, and you need to answer those in order to get credit for this, okay? All right, so let's go back to the home page. And now, the one that probably most people are interested in is, what about these exams? We never had exams before. And that's down below here. So it tells you when you pass the exams. And I'm going to go to the certification center here now. And there it says, oh, looky here. Dan's passed all of these. And now Scott and I put these questions together. There's like over 700 of them. So we could generally pass, but we actually tried missing a few questions. Let me show you how this works. First, let me go over the rules and tips, okay? So this is not really too tough. Each exam has got 25 questions, and there's only one right answer. None of these tricky ones, like 2 or 3. There's just one right answer, and you got to hit 80% to pass. Now, everything in the exams is covered in your Blue Help Knowledge Center. So and remember, we're back over here. Here's the Blue Help. And basically, you can just review these whenever you want. I mean, you may not even need this. Just going through the e-learning alone probably will be enough. But I'm sorry, I'm jumping around you a little bit here. Down here, if you look at this, exam 1 is market segmentation. Exam 2 is discovery prep. Exam 3 is discovery interviews. And exam 4 is preference. So let's look at the blue help here again. So here we go. Market segmentation is exam 1. Discovery interview prep and conducting. So exams 2 and 3 are in here. And exam 4 is preference interviews. So you'll even know what areas to take a look at if you want to get ready for it. Okay, so I was here, and then I clicked on certification, and I'm back over here again. So here are the exams I took, and here are those rules. So everything is in the Blue Help Center, and also describes what I just went over here. Now you got 60 minutes. It does not take 60 minutes. You probably won't need more than 10 minutes, but you know, if you got a break, you got to feed the dog, whatever, you know, you have plenty of time for this thing. You could even, if you wanted to, just go to the Blue Help Center and do a little bit of digging. You can't do it for 25 questions, but it's kind of an open book exam, in other words, okay? Now, what if your browser crashes? That's okay, just come back. It'll know that you crashed, and it will give you extra time for that. You can take the exams in any order you want. And then I'll show you how this works. It's kind of cool. If you miss some and you want to see how to shore up your knowledge, it'll tell you which Blue Help articles. And then as soon as you pass, it'll show up in the Blueprinting Center. Now, what if you don't pass an exam? Well, it's going to give you a week off, give you a week to kind of rethink or maybe go to the Blue Help Center, and then you can take it again as many times as you want. So let me show you what this looks like. So if I go to preference exams, it looks like I tried it once and failed. And I came back today and woohoo, I barely passed. I was actually trying to flunk it again. I wasn't counting right. But at any rate, I'll go here, but it shows the ones that I missed, okay? So if I go, well, why did I miss number 3? What was that? I click on this and it says, what does the importance of satisfaction chart include that the others do not? Oh, I guess it was those standard deviations. Oh, I missed that, okay. So then I go back to the summary. So I can look to see what I missed. Like sometimes it's just sloppy or sometimes I didn't understand it. But now I can brush up on this. So I can click on this and I can go to the Blue Help article that tells me why, you know, what the answers were. It covers this whole information here. So that is what we have in the practitioner or in the certification center. Now, let me come back here. Let me take another breath here. I think I've covered everything for practitioner. Questions at all that anybody has on anything we've covered so far? And I'll take a few seconds while you guys think. So far, so good? Okay, and I bet you some of you guys are really, really close to this. You're probably thinking, oh man, I think I got the interviews, probably have a market case, I've done my e-learning. You know, maybe just take the exams for some of you. That's all you have to do. You could literally, you know, probably take an hour, a couple hours, let's call it, and take these exams and have your certification. So we'll be eager to see, you know, who does this. By the way, this is brand new. So, you know, nobody really has these certifications yet. Scott, did I miss anything on the practitioner certification that I should have covered before we talk about the next level?
No, I think that's good. I think the only thing you showed it, the only thing I emphasize is, you know, we're taking their exams to measure knowledge, but the part that you showed about where, you know, after a test, really if you fail it or even if you don't, you know, where it gives you essentially your own customized study guide as to what to read next. So the system, yes, it's designed to measure knowledge, but also it's designed to increase your knowledge. Like nobody has to really know how many times you took the test, but by giving you these customized study guides, essentially, by virtue of going through the program, it's really, it'll help to improve your knowledge. And something that Dan and I noticed, I guess it's been a couple of years ago now, when we did a benchmarking of our own customers to see, well, what's the difference in one team that was very successful and another team that struggled? Well, the biggest difference was completing the e-learning. And so I think it's a pretty easy leap to make that the more folks you have that are more knowledgeable, more folks that have gone through the certification program, I mean, I hate to say it guarantees success, but it's going to come pretty close to that, I think.
Yeah, we're going to see some. We already have seen many people, our clients, go after the e-learning, aggressively go out, do the actual interviews, and many of them are the ones coming here to Monday Masterclass. And this is, if you think about it, there's really two things that get you really where you want to be. One is knowledge and one is experience. And they're kind of intertwined a little bit, right? I mean, the experience is getting out there and actually doing the interviews, and just nothing that replaces that. But there's knowledge. There's a lot in the Blue Health Center that Scott and I have been putting in over the last year that we don't even have time to cover in the workshop. And by getting this knowledge and combining it with experience, your skills are just going to go through the roof. So it kind of, if you look at this, if you think about this a little bit here, when you're doing a market case, that's about experience. When you're doing the interviews, that's about experience. But when you're completing the e-learning and you're passing the exam, that's about knowledge. And you get these all together, and we're going to have a group of people who are doing some amazing work out there. Now, the other thing I should mention, Scott, you triggered on the exam. If I flunk it the first time, flunk it. If I don't pass it the first time and I come back like a week later and take it again, will it be exactly the same? The answer is no. What happens is Scott and I put together a total of 700 questions for all 11 exams. And so some of those questions, if I come back the second time, I will see a few really important questions repeated, but I'll see some new questions. I'll see the order of the questions change, and I'll even see the A, B, C, D responses interchange. So not anybody on this call would do it, but if somebody wanted to, make screenshots of all the exam and pass it around to the rest, it wouldn't really do them much good, because the exams do get changed up a little bit each time. Okay, so that's practitioner. Now, if we look at if we go back and look at the next level up, which is the blue belt, there's really not a lot more to tell you here. You do the practitioner, and then really it's just now you got to do 5 discovery and 3 preference as a moderator, as a note taker. So that's pretty straightforward, right? You need to do the rest of those e-learning modules, and you need to pass 7 blue belt exams. So whereas here, you need to get these for practitioner, you just need to fill all of them in. And here we go back to the experience versus knowledge. The 13 through 24 modules are helping you actually do it. How do you convince customers? How do you take a tour? How do you do discovery? But modules 1 through 12, and then the later steps, they tend to be a little bit more knowledge intensive, more foundational. Now, what about those 7 exams? Of course, as soon as you get this, there's this big thing that pops up on the screen, and it lets you download a badge automatically. And then you can put it on LinkedIn and, whatever, your profile and so forth. It's a little JPEG image or something, I guess. Now, once that happens, this whole screen changes, and now you've got 7 exams here. Now, they are a little stiffer. And I can tell you what those 7 exams are by going to the Blue Health. So what you're going to see are the same 4 topics covered at a little more advanced level. In other words, you'll have 1 exam for market segmentation. You'll have 1 for discovery prep and 1 for discovery interviews. Questions will be a little bit tougher, not that bad. And you'll have 1 for preference. So you'll repeat those 4 at a little higher level of competency. Then there will be 1 more exam on overall arching blueprinting center methodology. There will be 1 overarching on software, and there will be 1 overarching on steps 4 through 7. So you might want to brush up on those a little bit. I could imagine many of you could knock off the practitioner exams without any studying. I think you might want to brush up a little bit when you get to, many of you at least, when you brush up and get ready for the blue belt. You can try it. If you pass it, great. If you say, oh, I do need more work, you'll know exactly where to go. And then once you get that completed, then boom, a big banner comes up and you can download your Blue Belt badge at that point in time. So Scott, anything more? Anybody have questions on this?
Well, people are sort of thinking of the questions, just a couple sort of high level thoughts. If I'm a leader at a company, one of our great clients that's, uses blueprinting, and I've got some really interesting new projects coming up with executive dashboard, I can see, maybe this isn't obvious, but I'm able to see, I can sort of handpick my teams. And that was something I would personally be highly interested in making sure that these critical teams have certified practitioners and hopefully at least one certified blue belt on each of these critical teams. And so it's also a way, so for a practitioner, you're really signaling your interest in innovation to your leaders. And so when they're looking for folks that, to lead up certain projects, if I was a leader, that is among some of the things I would be looking for. Of course, once this program's been out there a little bit.
Yeah, if this is something that interests you and you're putting together a performance plan, maybe you go to your boss and instead of just kind of like something that doesn't interest you, have them put in your performance plan. I want to get practitioner certification this year or blue belt certification, and then gives you the kind of the focus and freedom to pursue that.
That's a great idea, Dan. Yeah, it's usually with most performance systems, there's some category in there for your personal development. And, when you're having those conversations, if your boss asks, well, what are you thinking about for your personal development? Probably, I don't know. It's probably the wrong answer, right? That's probably the worst answer. It's probably a good idea to sort of have a plan to bring to them. I'd like to acquire this ability, and I think this would be a fantastic one to bring, because if you don't have something in there, they're going to put something in there. So why not, take control of your career and have this there?
Well, I think also can help a little bit because, we all want to do good work and we're all overloaded, right?
Yeah.
And so what we find is a lot of well-meaning people don't invest in themselves. They just kind of, maybe instead of stopping to sharpen the axe, they just keep chopping at the wood pile. And this might be a way of kind of formalizing, hey, listen, I'm going to invest in myself. And Scott and I can tell you that we have a lot of people who are between jobs. You guys know how this works. And we always invite you to reach out to us and say, hey, if you see any jobs out there, let me know. We're always pretty helpful with that because we do have clients who say, do you know anybody experienced in blueprinting? And we love to make those matches, but having it kind of formalized is not a bad thing.
It certainly makes it easier for us to provide some objective information instead of, oh yes, Fred's a great practitioner. We can say Fred's a blue belt certified. We're just passing on information.
Yep. Now you mentioned the executive dashboard, and I'll stop again and we'll take some questions. If your company is not using this yet, you should know it's a free service. So it's maybe you don't bother if you only have one team, but if you've got several blueprinting project teams going, let us know. You'll need to appoint somebody in your company who is an admin. It'll take them probably 15 minutes to put in the org structure of your company. And then they're going to have to tell us who they want to have set up as executives. And this is a free service. So we'll set this up for them. Then your executives can see 4 charts. I think most of you have already seen this one. This is the pipeline. You can see what phase, how many interviews are done. Basically, you get a mini version of this on your homepage where your projects only show. And then there's a portfolio view, which you can see how things are moving toward the market case completion and size and impact. But this is what Scott was talking about, certification progress. So if I click on the practitioner certification, we can see how people are making their progress over here, just little by little trying to get, I think that I had to clean it up a little bit for myself. But anyway, we've been doing a lot of testing, but you can see how they're moving on e-learning. Again, modules 13 through 24. There are 5 interviews, their market case, and there are 4 exams. And this will show for all the people in the company. And then once they get that practitioner, they get a blue star here. And then that we can see them pursuing their blue belt. And once they hit that, Nancy Calloway now has got her blue belt. And so your executives can see this. And then they can also, this is your point, Scott, they can see how people are doing here, moving toward, how much experience they have. So, hey, let's get Sarah on this brand new team, or Nicole on this brand new team, because they have a lot of experience with interviewing. All right. Well, let me go back to the home page, and we'll wrap this up with any questions anybody has on certification. Anybody?
Again, one thing I'll just throw out, we call it the executive dashboard, but we use the executive word, not sort of as a role. Really, anybody who's responsible for managing these programs, who part of their role is to have oversight, so not necessarily like a C-level person, for example.
That's a great point. If you've got somebody looking over the stage gate process,
Right. Right.
Maybe somebody in HR who's interested in training.
Right.
Sometimes our clients will put, like, let's say they're getting started and they got 4 teams and they're getting started. They'll put the team leaders on so the team leaders can see how they're doing compared to everybody else and so forth. So it's pretty loosey-goosey. Basically, you tell us who you want and we'll set it up.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'll be quiet. Any questions at all on certification? And I'm kind of curious, anybody looking at this going, hey, I think I'm pretty close. This doesn't look too hard. Or on the other hand, is anybody going, oh my goodness, this looks really hard. Any feedback for us? This is all new.
Yeah, feel free to unmute yourselves. I muted a few folks as we were getting started just because I could hear background noise and I couldn't tell who was who. So I just sort of mass muted people. So feel free to unmute yourselves now.
Everybody okay with this? We actually had some feedback, Scott, that some people thought we ought to have a lot more interviews being required. But what we found is there's a balance again between experience and knowledge. And so after you do, a handful of these interviews, yes, you're going to get better as you do more, but it's probably more important to get the knowledge to complement the experience.
Hey, Dan and Scott, this is Nate Kofier here. Hopefully you guys can hear me.
Sure can, Nate.
Yeah. So prior to this meeting, I went in last week and I did take the 4 tests. And one of them I got a 60 on. And I'm like, it's kind of just maybe the way I do things. So I think maybe as people start taking these different tests, you guys will kind of key up on some of the questions people kind of, miss the first time around and see if it's maybe just kind of a stylistic change or, you know what I mean? I don't think I missed anything. Again, it's really just like, I think it's maybe made the style after doing a number of them. So,
well, that's a really, really good point, Nate. You are one of our top experts in this area. So one thing we're going to do is we're going to watch those questions and see which ones a lot of people are missing. And it's the way they're worded and so on and so forth. It's like, we'll probably be making changes. So we will absolutely be watching to see which questions are snagging people more. And so, yeah, that's good. How did you feel when you took all 4 of them? Did you feel like some of the other ones worked out better for you or not?
Oh God, yeah. I'm just waiting until tomorrow to be able to retake the 1.
It's just the one that got you. Yeah. Well, I tell you, that's really valuable, Nate. If you don't mind, when you look at you now can go in and see which ones you missed.
Yeah.
For you and others, we'd love to hear why, the way it was worded. Even when I took them, I thought, I'm not sure I'd word that one again. You know how when you write something, you go back and you reread and go, So any feedback on the wording, if the wording caught people as far instead of the basic concept, we'd love to know that. And we've got a master list that we can easily update. So thank you for that, Nate.
Yeah, appreciate it.
You may be one of our first certified people coming up here, I can imagine, with all the interviews you've done.
I still got to get all the way through business cases. Every time I get close, the executives, quote unquote, Scott, change their mind.
Yeah, I know what you mean. A lot of times you get going on these things and you don't even really finish the preference interviews. But I'm glad you brought that up too, Nate. Here's something to think about. If you guys are working on this thing. Let's say you do a handful of preference interviews. And it's kind of like, okay, you know, we have enough preference interviews done that we can see where things are at. We're looking at this thing and we're going, you know what? This market isn't for us. We're just not seeing the high market satisfaction gaps, you know, to even pursue this thing. Let's kill this thing right now. Here's my advice. If you've done enough preference interviews to make that determination, go in and complete the market case anyway, and simply put in, you know, there's a lot of narrative spaces in there. You know, there's 6 of these.
Yeah.
Go ahead and explain why you killed it. And 2 things will happen. First, it'll help your certification. But the other thing is that's going to be really valuable, because maybe 3 years from now, a colleague didn't even know you were on the project and they're thinking about this. Wouldn't it be cool if they could find this project and they saw everything summarized in a market case? So I guess I would say to everybody, be fairly liberal in what it means to complete a market case. Okay. You may be done, Nate.
Well, no, I got to get to the business case now, you know?
Well, yeah. Well, there is the business case,
Yeah.
but all you need for certification is the market case.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I know what you're saying. You have a big project. You want to do some side-by-side testing. For those of you unfamiliar, the market case happens after preference. Then if you want to go all the way to a business case, because it's a pretty big project, there's more work you can do, but you don't need that for certification. So just the market case alone will get you there. For Blue Belt and Practitioner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Cool.
Dan.
Thank you, Nate.
Yep.
Other observations or comments others might have? Everybody else good? All right. Well, we're looking forward to getting feedback from you all. This is kind of a big turning point, we think. There will be things coming down the years. You can imagine, you know, in times to come, there will be things that we'll sponsor, where we get people who are blue belts together. We do special things with them, special forums. We don't have all that worked out yet. User conferences, Scott, we've talked about that. But we kind of feel like just within the last month, now that this homepage is there, we've got the certification program, the executive dashboard is in place, it's all coming together. Now, I'll just tell you one other thing and I'll leave it alone. We're also working on some really advanced coaching pages. And so our AIM coaches are going to have some pretty amazing ways. Remember that $4,200 where the AIM coach helps the team? We've got some pretty amazing tools now for those AIM coaches. That there will come a time when that won't be just for AIM coaches. So if somebody gets practitioner certification, then blue belt certification, then they shadow some AIM coaches and they become a certified coach within their own company, we're going to open that up to them too. So there's going to be pretty cool tools coming, you know, in months and years to come. All right. Well, that's it for me on certification. You know how we do this. If there's any other questions you've got that are more generic, you know, why did my customer let me do an interview with them? Why did that preference interview blow up? Whatever. If you have any other questions, this is the time. You guys may remember Click and Clack, the Tappet Brothers on NPR. They used to call this Stump the Chump time. So that's what we have now. Any questions, general questions at all that anybody has, or back to the certification?
My car's making a weird rattle, Dan. When I press the acceleration down, I hear it starts a lot of vibration. I wonder if you could help me with that.
You betcha. All right, that's great. Hey, well, everybody, thank you for joining us. We're pretty excited about this. You guys are kind of the ones who are very involved in this, and we're looking forward to working with you. Any questions you have on certification or anything else, let us know. And then the last thing we'll do, Scott, I neglected to look to see what's coming up at the next one here. So let's just take a quick peek before we say so long.
That makes it more exciting. We get to learn together.
Exactly. What are we going to talk about in 2 more weeks? Looks like when we get together the next time, it'll be June 7th. Ooh, yeah. This is going to be interesting. This is a little bit more on the knowledge side than the experience side. So we've written a brand new white paper just a couple months ago on B2B versus B2C. And in it, I think we've got like, 12 differences between B2B and B2C, all of which actually make a difference. And I think they're all in favor of B2B when it comes to front end of innovation. So we're going to get kind of deep into it next time. You've heard us talk about knowledge, objectivity, interest, foresight, and concentration. Well, there's 7 other factors that we're going to cover. So, get ready for some heavy duty diving deep into the weeds next time we get together. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, thanks everybody for joining us. We will talk to you in a couple weeks, but reach out to us beforehand if you've got anything for us, okay? All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a
Thanks,
good
guys.
rest of the day.